talk about today. That said, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ruby Estrada, Senior Program Specialist from New Mexico AMP at NMSU, and also the Institutional Coordinator for New Mexico AMP there. Dr. Estrada is a genuine interdisciplinarian holding degrees in government, ecology, anthropology, and curriculum and instruction. She's been a STEM teacher from the K-12 up to the university levels. So if you would, please join me in welcoming our speaker for our luncheon, Dr. Ruby Estrada.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about all the statewide efforts that are in play to increase research in STEM. Let's see. So I am from New Mexico, Ruby Estrada. I'm an interdisciplinary, as Brian mentioned, and I love science puns. So if anybody comes up with any puns today or flags me because I made one, you get a charger or a kit with a stapler and Post-its in it. I'm an avid reader and a former swimmer. I haven't swam for about 5 years, but I need to get back to swimming laps. So, So I drove through rural New Mexico, and I couldn't help but want to put up a family photo. This is my grandfather. This is in Tularosa, in the Tularosa Basin. This is my 3 times great-grandmother. If he were alive today, he'd be about 110 years old. And this is a cousin who is also part Mescalero Apache. So I had this analyzed at the museum, and my mom was always ashamed of the lack of wealth in rural New Mexico. But when I took it to a museum at New Mexico State University, he pointed out all the signs of wealth in this photo. A pre-Ford truck. He noted this barbed wire fence that I had never noticed. Of course, he had to authenticate the photo by chili plants and grama grass. And he told me, look up in USDA records about the type of sheep. And on the average, these our ancestors had no fewer than 2,000 sheep in the Tularosa Basin. So that's where I come from. And driving up here, I took the long route through Mescalero and Ruidoso and Vaughn and Roswell, and it was just great to see rural New Mexico at its finest. So when I talk about being an interdisciplinarian, who can guess what my trajectory was? Going double majoring in government and ecology, and then in anthropology, and then in curriculum and instruction. What do you think the thread was? What do you think my pursuit was? Anybody?
Politics.
What is it?
Politics.
A little bit, but something more critical and near and dear to me.
Curriculum.
What is it?
Curriculum instruction.
What kind of instruction?
Curriculum.
Curriculum and instruction. I hadn't even discovered curriculum and instruction yet. People say, people always say that we bond with somebody in K through 12, a teacher. I never did. My parents were my best teachers. They were radical in the 60s and 70s. So the whole feminist movement, environmental movement, and that sort of thing that was going on in the 60s. I'm far more conservative than they are, but you know, everything goes full circle. So nobody guessed it, nor my cough, but I'm a second generation ecologist. And my dad was both an ecologist and an environmentalist in New Mexico. There weren't really jobs for ecologists, so he worked in construction. He blew up mountains in Cloudcroft so that people could, you know, that underpass in Cloudcroft. My dad helped blow that up so that people could have an underpass. So I started out with one intention, and that was to save the planet. growing up with the narratives I did to save the planet, right? So people in academia, ivory towers, were working in silos. And I saw more, there's two things to do in southern New Mexico, swim or read. And so we would literally read encyclopedias, children's issues and adults. And so I saw the interconnectedness in all disciplines at a very young age. And then remember, my trajectory was to save the planet. So I had a multidisciplinary approach at a very young age, and that would be this up here that brings various disciplines together. Today, I operate at an interdisciplinary level where it looks a lot more like this type of webbing. And now I'm going into a convergence state, and that talks about cross-sector alliances in any discipline. So currently I'm the program specialist senior for NMAMP. I'm also the institutional coordinator for New Mexico State University. New Mexico NMSU holds the grant, and but every university in New Mexico, all 7 universities have an institutional coordinator, and Brian is the institutional coordinator for Eastern. And so I offer a lot of full-time programming in STEM disciplines. So today's agenda is we're going to look at an historical overview of New Mexico AMP and how it came into being and how these cross-sector alliances have evolved and also play a critical role in AMP. We're going to look at the programs that you can offer here and that you do offer here at Eastern New Mexico. And these are the 3 bigs: transfer stipends, STEM prep, and undergraduate research scholar stipends. So my goal today is to convey the privileges of belonging to a national agency, which is NSF in this case. And I'm hoping that you guys leave here understanding the importance of the statewide and institutional level of support. And I'm hoping for students that are here, I'm hoping to foster a sense of support and belonging and inspire future researchers, which we saw a lot of great posters today. The National Sciences Foundation was established by U.S. Congress in the 1950s, and their main goal was to promote progress of science, advance national health and prosperity, and secure a national defense system at the global level. And today, they contribute to 25% of federal monies that go into colleges and universities around the U.S. Under the umbrella of the National Sciences Foundation is Ellis AMP. And this becomes important when students are looking at graduate school and applying for internships. A lot of places literally have bubbles, like Johns Hopkins. If you're applying for if students are applying for an internship there, they literally have bubbles that have different programs, national programs that you can choose that you've belonged to, and Ellis AMP is one of them. So sometimes in New Mexico, we strictly talk about New Mexico AMP or just AMP, but the importance of it stemming from an Ellis AMP trajectory is really important for, let me say it again, for applications for graduate studies and internships. Ellis AMP started by a 15 consecutive term congressman named Louis Stokes, and AMP was created in 1991, and then it was named after Louis Stokes, Ellis AMP, in 1999. It started out targeting underrepresented groups in STEM. And I'm going to stop real quick because I use the term interchangeably. It's kind of a pun for stemming from. Nobody caught that, right? Try to catch those little Subtle puns, you guys. So it's program funded. It's one of the programs at NSF, and it's to broaden. Today, the main purpose is to broaden participation in STEM. And again, you'll see LSAMP on fellowships and internships, and there's multiple programs that fall under this. We just happen to have about 4 or 5 in New Mexico. But somebody asked me earlier about a doctoral program that falls under LSAMP. You can apply for some bridge to doctorate funding through LSAMP. We just don't have that here in New Mexico. So NSF is a big federal agency, and under it, we've got this program, LSAMP. And here is a map of all the places that have LSAMP programs in the U.S. So the white dots are the main, the people that get the main funding. Doñana Branch and New Mexico State University are 2 that are funded in New Mexico. And up here, the yellow stars show the tribal colleges that are funded through AMP, which is a different entity altogether from ours. But Doñana County, Doñana Community College was part of the funding under New Mexico State University, but 2024, our latest funding cycle, separated the community colleges from the universities. So there are 9 community colleges that fall under AMP in New Mexico, with Doñana Community College being the lead, and then there are 7 universities that fall under New Mexico AMP. So I don't know why. Oh, I'm going backwards. So, okay. So I want to talk about the importance of STEM, because this is the primary goal, to get undergraduates involved in faculty mentored STEM programs. So SMET was coined in the 1990s, and it was a legislative term because it was a lot easier to say SMET than the whole strand of science, math, engineering, and technology. In 2001, an NSF worker, Judith Romilly, coined the term STEM, and that's a lot better and a lot easier to say. At New Mexico State University, we have a SMET course that AMP teaches, and it's still, so I'm working to get it changed. Hopefully it'll be changed by next semester, and it won't be SMET any longer, it'll be STEM, which aligns with the whole, that's me, sorry. And so that'll align a lot better with the national push towards STEM disciplines. And you see a lot of other programs in STEM cropping up: STEAM, eSTEAM, STREAM, and these are, like Northern New Mexico has a STEAM coalition, and they're working to get legislative funding and NSF funding to have K through 12 schools that are STEM schools, like categorically STEM schools. Religion can be STREAM, but it's also reading. eSTEM made a very small appearance on the stage during the Obama administration. Arnie Duncan, the education secretary, had tried to get an environmental STEM, but it never got traction. So at the national level, the next generation science standards, which New Mexico adopted early on, has changed the trajectory of STEM in K through 12. So you guys are going to see students that are in STEM and have done STEM fairs instead of science fairs. And the other thing that the next generation science standards brought forward were invention conventions. Because when we're looking at digital natives, the fact that they come in, they're born as digital natives. They're like one and the same to handheld devices. They're innovative and they invent a lot of things. And science, the scientific method doesn't necessarily allow for that. So the Next Generation Science Standards has also created a trajectory of inventing things through the engineering design versus researching things through the scientific method. And of course, there is a lot of cross-sector support. You see STEM alliances in industry and corporations. They all have a vested interest in investing in a national STEM trajectory because they want skilled workers and they want graduates being able to come work for them that are skilled with this mindset. STEM programs reach over 15 million students annually. It's a societal-wide effort. It's solution-oriented. It advances human knowledge, advances proficiency across related fields versus single domains, which goes into that whole interdisciplinary and convergence type of thinking, where you're not only looking at academia as a support system for this national effort, you're also looking at businesses and governmental entities that support STEM. So we see an increase in discoveries across the economic, social, and environmental spheres. And one of the goals is to foster literacy, competencies, skill thinking, and technical proficiencies. And that's the climate that your students are coming from in K through 12. And so we start to really begin to understand the interdisciplinary approach, which again is now at this cross-sector convergence stage. Shared goals, academia, corporate America, and all these other stakeholders contributing to the web, the well-woven web of STEM. I don't know why I put this in, or am I going backwards? Am I pressing the wrong thing? Let's see. No, I had it there. Maybe I was showing the differences. So NSF, LS AMP, and now we're coming to New Mexico AMP. I think that's why I put it there. Okay, so we're in our 32nd year of AMP. It started at New Mexico State University in 1993. In 2002, we started an alliance with community colleges, like the Bridge to Baccalaureate programs, and you guys can be involved in this also, where a faculty mentor takes a student for the summer to be his or her research assistant, and we pay for them to work with you over the summer. We're hoping that every university involved in AMP this year has that. So keep that in mind. There's funding for that if somebody's working over the summer. In 2007, NMAMP began receiving state funding, and they have made that like a permanent funding now, whereas before we had to go to the legislature and ask for every cycle. So in 2023 was our 30-year anniversary. Last year, our various pathways reached 12,000 students in New Mexico. And of course, we're in our 32nd year, as previously mentioned. These are universities in New Mexico. All universities are in this alliance. And here we've got Highlands in Las Vegas, New Mexico Tech in Socorro, New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, Northern New Mexico College in Espanola, UNM, and Western in Silver City. Can you imagine how busy that would be if we still had community colleges that fell under our programming? So we're aligned with them, but separate now. So let me reiterate our national level goals that we see reoccurring regardless of who is in office. help with graduate rates, foster intellectual growth, engage students in research, interdisciplinary cross-cutting approaches to research. And this filters to the state and institutional level, and the state and local institutes have the same goals, with the broadest impact being how can we make this a better place. Welcome to my world, right? Remember me as an interdisciplinarian with one goal in mind. So at the institutional level, we hear questions such as, where are the gaps? What's preventing high levels of graduation rates? Where are the gaps that we can fill? How do we foster intellectual growth? How can Eastern New Mexico University assist? How can we engage more students in undergraduate research programs? And of course, the interdisciplinary component is still there, meaning that this isn't just funding for biology. It isn't just funding for engineering. It's not just funding for chemistry. There's a STEM approach to it, computer scientists, that sort of thing. So our funding cycle from 2024 to 2029, this is our new number. I hope I drove home the importance of mentioning LSAMP and getting to know that term, not just AMP, because if your interns, again, see this on applications and internships, they're going to want to know that they belong to this AMP, which is a broader umbrella. We fall under the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM, that's the EES, and this division falls under one of the 8 directorates in STEM at NSF, and this is the Directorate of STEM Education. So our funding theme for this cycle is climate sustainability and resilience, and this could be really controversial, and we knew it, but we wanted to stay competitive in our proposal. So whenever we use these terms, A, they don't have to be stranded together as one entity, okay? They aren't a unit, A. B, your research, your overarching research doesn't have to be in this field. It doesn't have to address climate or energy directly, because your focus may just be solar panels, let's say. And so you're not necessarily looking at climate sustainability or resilience. You're just looking at solar panels. And so sometimes it's a hard stretch for people to try to integrate any one of these. Again, they're not a strand that needs to be integrated all 3. It can be or neither, okay? We are still funding people, students who are doing cancer research, for example. But in the application, there is a question: how does your research apply to any one of these 3 things? Well, who can answer what you think cancer research would fall under here? Any one of 3 of these terms? Who said that? I heard it. You're right. It's resiliency. Who said it? Is that what you were going to say? Yes. Yeah, it's resiliency. How can we help people become resilient after they've been sick or diagnosed with cancer? How can we help sustain their lives? So, So when you answer that question, it is an important part of the application, and it is what we got funded to do. We're under contract to do that since we received a grant to have that theme. But if you need help making a case for it, we can help you. Okay, and it isn't as far stretched as you might think. Okay, so with this funding cycle, as I mentioned, the B2B program, the Bridge to Baccalaureate, is aligned but different. They're separate but aligned. We applied under the same grant, but we were funded separately. So they're still funded under LSAMP, but they're running their own programs separate from us, but we still collaborate. Not sure why I put that there, that either. So we're going to go into why, how this applies to you guys at Eastern. We have transfer stipends, STEM prep, and undergraduate research programs that we can help fund. So who do we serve? We serve the students. They have to be full-time, and I thought how many people are students in here? Or did any students come? Okay, good. Oh, good. Okay, so we serve students that are enrolled full-time in a STEM discipline. And there are so many definitions of what constitutes a STEM discipline, and these come directly from the National Science Foundation. Okay, there isn't anything that we made up at the state or institutional level. Students must have a minimum GPA of 2.5. They must be a U.S. citizenship or permanent residence by NSF guidelines, and a strong interest in graduate school. NMAMP programs include pathways to engage students in undergraduate research, but LSAMP does far more, and any AMP program can apply to do other things like a bridge to baccalaureate and have master programs in STEM also. We cater to undergraduate research students in New Mexico. Our mission is to provide professional, career, and academic development among students. So I have two cohorts of undergraduate research students, and we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we have a STEM prep program that meets on Fridays. So we have guest speakers that come talk about how to apply for graduate school. We talk about, a lot of students don't know how to do keyword searches or subject searches when they're looking for literature to help support their research. So we have librarians come in and talk to them about how to locate valid research, what is valid literature, and where the streams usually come from, and they aren't the internet and they aren't Wikipedia, right? So we do that type of professional and career development with them. They're required to fill out exit interviews at the end of every semester. But what I tell them is to fill out any conference that they go to, put it in your resume. Any lab safety certification they get, put it on your resume. Because at the end of the semester, when they fill out their exit interviews, they can just cut and paste that info directly into their exit interview. Because we track data. We track people into their careers and retirement and their doctoral programs. So we track our students for a long time, and NSF does also, because we're all making data-driven decisions, right? And the federal government is no different. And so we encourage graduate school. That's a big component of this, and it's a question in the application also. Are you interested in going to graduate school? And we encourage them to, and we show them where to go to look for internships, co-ops, and publish articles. Today, my students, my undergraduate research scholars, are teaching academy. The director there, Tara Gray, wrote a book called Publish and Flourish, and it's her 15th anniversary or edition. Do you remember, Brian? It's something like that. 15th year or 15th edition of this book. And it's not a big book, but my students are going to the Teaching Academy at New Mexico State University to learn about how to publish and flourish. So those are the type of programs that we offer our students to help them in their STEM trajectory in academia. So We want to foster a STEM identity in students. Part of academic success, graduation rates, all of that involves developing a cohort of friends, peer-to-peer type of relationships, and AMP does this for our students. I remember when internships started coming out and the students were reporting out about the internships that they'd won, and it becomes a we thing. Like, us three got an internship, and they start naming their internships because they're so happy that they send out a dozen applications and maybe they get 3 responses or 1 response. And so they feel like they're doing this as a cohort. And that lends to students feeling welcomed into their academic career, it gives them a sense of belonging, which increases their own success. When things get hard, they know that they belong to something bigger than themselves, that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They're not working in a silo all for naught. It becomes more meaningful when they are able to do something as an academic cohort, studies show. And so faculty plays a role as mentors, and students in STEM prep have to go out and find a mentor that they would like to work for. And the benefits of mentorship, of being mentored, are they get technical guidance, which to help increase their lab skills, focus area knowledge, and research knowledge. They get professional guidance into industry standards, conference attendance, publishing, and presenting their work. I do this formal thing with the students, and I'm kind of lucky that they do that, but we report out, and NGSS does this too. So what NGSS has done in K through 12 is they teach scientific argumentation, is what it's called. And it's so that people can learn to speak to each other civilly about their work and what they're passionate about. So students learn how to discuss technical issues, scientific problems and solutions, which is an important part of understanding the way our brains work and the way logic works. When we hear ourselves speak, sometimes we iron out our own problems, and we are able, in order for it to make sense, we have to work out the logic in our own mind to say it. So when you have students talk about what they're doing and reporting out in our meetings how their research is coming, they can come up with solutions and, put things in a logical way so they also better understand it. And so they learn to present their work, communicate with their work. Our faculty mentors filled out a survey, and they said that they would like to meet more often with their students to discuss the research. So this deepens their own understanding of what they're doing. And they get personal guidance from me and our staff and from their mentors, which helps. Again, it helps with that sense of belonging, being able, because if somebody, when we talk to people who are in charge of student success on our campus, by the time they go see some of these people and they're ready to quit or they haven't been going, it's already becoming, it's too late to try and capture them. So we make sure that we have them have a healthy work-life balance, and we offer them that level or know where to direct them for mental and emotional support also. So the 3 programs that you guys have here also are transfer stipends, STEM prep, and URS. Transfer stipends support community college students that have taken all the classes that they can at a community college, and now they want to transfer to a 4-year institution to get their bachelor's. And we, the way the funding requirements are worded, If they start in the fall, we can't fund them in the spring. It has to be in the fall when they've just transferred over. And so we get applicants sometimes that are already deep into a four-year university, but we can't fund them. So if you guys have an alliance going, I don't know who your filter community colleges are that filter into Eastern, but it's good to create those alliances for our transfer stipend students. And our STEM prep program is the one that helps second semester freshmen and sophomores find a research mentor that they would like to work with. We help them identify faculty that have worked with us or that are written into our grant and have labs and centers where we could also send them. Because sometimes students aren't yet skilled in just going up to a faculty mentor, one of their professors, and saying, I'm interested in knowing more about your research or working in your lab, one of your labs, or with you. So we help them, we rehearse that with them. We give them lists of questions that they can go through to locate these faculty mentors. And the undergraduate research scholar program is aimed at sophomores, second semester sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And we help them in their own unique research. And so, as you know, academics are on a continuum, right? There's so many people that came before us. We stand on their shoulders, and we try to find an in for these students, because a lot of students come in really ambitious, and it's great, and think invention convention, but most people are just finding their in on this continuum of science, continuum of engineering design. But the invention, the inventive type of stuff is rare, but we still like to help them through whatever phase they're at, and working with faculty mentors. And we treat them like scholars, we treat them like intellectuals, we treat them like academics, and they behave that way. And I've had professors tell me that their levels of confidence increase. And some of our students will now stand in class when they talk or answer questions. And it's that type of formality where, I don't know where this phrase comes from, but I love it. Iron sharpens iron. So we tell them, don't let your guard down. You're already becoming a professional. Yes, you're a student. We've had applicants that put in 4-letter cuss words on their applications. So they're representing NSF, they're representing the university, they're representing themselves. And so I tell them, be formal, I've heard teachers and K through 12 use 4-letter words, but it's not a good look. And we try to formalize their research and their approach to finding jobs and entering the industry, let's say. So again, AMP helps foster a sense of belonging as an important aspect of student success and retention. They get a lot of good peer-to-peer identity that will serve them, 10 years down the road, 12 years down the road, when they become part of a research community. The outreach, again, is across the nation. It's in New Mexico, and every state has its own unique form of LSAMP. And studies show that when students belong to an academic type of cohort, they do better. They have a better sense of belonging and identity, and it gives them a better roadmap about how to proceed successfully in their college stay, whether it's just a bachelor's, but of course we try to get them to go to graduate school. And we have a student who applied to Johns Hopkins and is going to go. We have students that go to all different kinds of national labs, and here in New Mexico and in California. One of our cross-sector alliances is with NASA and space grants that are at NMSU and in New Mexico. LSAMP encourages graduate school, and there are funding pathways to NSF, and one is called a Graduate Research Fellowship Program. And their applications ask questions like, have you ever spoken to high schoolers? Because that's a plus. So I have my URS students who have been in there for more than one semester go talk to STEM Prep. When we have our conferences, we have our students attend one in the spring and one in the fall. We have our undergraduate research scholars talk to high schoolers that come in from other K through 12 programs, MESA and SEMA and Outward Bound programs like that. So we have them doing public speaking early on to become better skilled in their own research and experience, and to be able to speak to people about what they're doing. And it becomes a powerful credential when they do this with this Graduate Research Fellowship Program, GRFP, because these are the things that they ask. John Hopkins has this on their internship. Have you been in, like 5-6 programs, and LSAMP is one of them. Here are some of our researchers. Developing a STEM identity is more than a feeling. It's getting students to understand it's a mindset that we try to instill in them, that they are researchers, and to think with that type of mentality, those critical thinking skills of not just jumping to conclusions and not just saying things when they don't really know, and being able to argumentatively say, well, in my experience or my understanding of something, so that they can learn how to do scientific argumentation to include in the workspace. Okay, so you guys have flyers at your table for some of our programs. One of them is for our fall conference. People who presented today could present their work in the fall. We have our QR codes regarding our programs, regarding you name it. It's all on our website, and there are the QR codes. There's 3 different flyers. One is for the conference, one is about our program overall, and one is to become a STEM Prep or URS student in the fall. Any questions? Go ahead.
Lots of questions.
Okay.
One. First thing, I know that the system I'm familiar, I'm telling this first. Students apply to the program director. In university, they have the program director, like additional program director. So student applied, when student get the research fund opportunity, they distribute the students and the faculty. So now we don't have the program director anymore. So students will apply to whom?
To our website, and that is New Mexico. We're under the Eastern New Mexico is under NMAMP. So, and New Mexico has been funded for the next 4 years, and we have a website. And Brian is your institutional coordinator. So if you have any questions regarding where students apply or how to apply, you can go to him. I literally show my students, click here, this is how you answer that. You know what I mean? If you ever want to have an informative session like that, we could even do it over Zoom, but I could go to the website now if you guys want me to.
Another question.
Sure.
The program director, is it university-wise or state-wise one director?
So there is one director, and she's a co-PI on the grant, and she's been one of the PIs for a long time. Our director retired, and so one of the co-PIs is now the director. But that's the main institution, and then there are the 7 other universities that have institutional coordinators. And that's an Eastern's institutional coordinator is Brian. Go ahead.
So kind of address the elephant in the room, the DEIM program. What are the chances of this getting funded in the next year?
So, like I said earlier, since Trump's first administration, that's not something that NSF can ask. Go ahead, since you asked a question.
Right, how long do we have guaranteed funding?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know, but we're set for this funding cycle. But thank you for asking. Okay, thank you for asking a question. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
As a faculty, do we get any support
Sponsoring
the students?
I don't, well, you get support in the sense that with an undergraduate research scholar, we pay your students $2,000 to work in your lab. And we give the students $200, depending on our budget for the year, we give the students and you a $200 to $250 supply allowance. So those are some of the benefits. You know, they work a minimum of 10 hours in your lab. That's a benefit that you don't have to pay for. And we give them $1,000 at the beginning of the semester, and then we give them $1,000 at the end of the semester. And we do have requirements, you know, present at the conference, present a poster, come to our meetings, learn these things, but they are doing great at attending. They're getting a lot out of it. Anything else? Yes.
Do you have plans to encourage high schoolers to, I guess, apply for these programs?
So they have to be a second semester freshman to apply for STEM prep.
In the future, though?
Yes, yeah. I do outreach at, if the campus has any type of outreach. We had some students, some high schoolers that have already applied to go to NMSU. We had them in March, and I tabled there, and we gave them swag, talked to them about our program, told them to come see us when they're second semester freshmen or sophomores if they're interested. Well, the ones that came, we have an engineering complex, and we have like about 5 or 6 different engineering buildings. And so we have this court, this area, and with some overhangs, and we just all set up tables, you know, people from civil engineering, mechanical, and aerospace, and high schoolers from all over New Mexico came in and talked to us about, and we talked to them about in our engineering program, because we're housed in civil engineering. We could be housed anywhere, arts and sciences or wherever, but NMAP happens to be the main offices are in civil engineering here in New Mexico. Yes?
I would check, if I have, for example, one student in the program, you and I.
Uh-huh.
So, in the lab, how much support can supply for the lab? For the PI lab, so maybe one student working with me
Yeah,
in the situation, in the scenario.
yeah.
Do you have any support to the lab?
So we have a lot of people who, a lot of faculty mentors who write us into their grant, because at the national level, and this is a funding thing, and it's older than the current administration, their federal funding always wants to know about leverage. Who is leveraging your funding, or is the federal government funding this whole thing? And so, like I mentioned, we have the New Mexico legislature funds us, so we show that, you know, that type of support. The institution helps fund us, and so if you're applying for a grant, you can use us as leverage. If you have students, we will be your leverage for your funding. Other than giving the students a $250 allowance, that's pretty much the most that we do. And we are paying for the student to be in your lab at least 10 hours a week. So if you are hiring students for 20 hours, we're paying for half of their wages. So.
So Ruby, we're out of time, and
oral
Okay.
presentations are starting, so maybe we'll end
Sure.
if you'd like to keep answering questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. And I'm going to stay and clean up all this stuff. So if you have any questions and want to come up here and ask me, please do. Or we have some really cool pens and other stuff that you're welcome to. Okay, you're welcome. You had a question too.